Creative Katie, Karen Birchall, and this is NaNoJoumo 2016. Take time to hit the subscribe button and select the option to get notified of upcoming videos. That way you won't miss any. This is NaNoJoumo number 3, Fashionable was the prompt. So today I'm working in my Canson Mixed Media journal, and the prompt for this was either fashionable or from Daisy Yellow's 30-Day Muse tuxedo. So I went on to Pinterest and I just did a search for fashion quotes or fashionable quotes, and I came up with these two, and I printed both of them off, and I'm not exactly sure which one I'm going to use right now. We'll just see what fits once I pick the focal point. So I dug out two of the file folders in my big blue box organizing system, and I'm going to put a link in the iCard for you to that organizing system, because I really find that that is the one organizational thing that once I discovered it, it just kind of fell together. So I pulled out two folders, one that was texture bling, just kind of images that I really liked, and one was the people images. And I'm just going through them to see which images may fit my plan. And I noticed that girl and the guy dancing, he's in a tuxedo and she's wearing very fashionable designer type dress. So I'm just pulling out what might work and trying to keep it neat and organized in my studio, because it usually looks like a bomb went off. Her dress would work, these two, but they don't really go with the quote that I've picked. I think I'm going to go with her and this quote. I think it's kind of standard. No. Well, decision made. I think I'm going to save some of these for another prompt later on. So the first thing I need to do after gessoing is I'm going to put some texture on the background. So I'm putting the girl where I think I want to place her, because I'm not going to put any texture there. Now, I don't always know what I'm going to do later down the row, so sometimes texture ends up underneath something I'm gluing down, and it works just fine. It's just this time I knew exactly where I wanted her to go. I had the focal point kind of picked out, so I'm just going with it. So this is light modeling paste, and I'm applying it with a palette knife, and I'm just putting it here and there. And then every once in a while I'm scraping off any little bits that are just showing, just to tidy it up. There are some of the ovals that are not perfect, and the goal is not to make it perfectly perfect. And that's something I had to accept as I art journaled, that when you are doing that, when you're using sprays, when you're using certain mediums, you got to give up the perfection bit. So I'm putting this all over the place and just kind of surrounding the girl. The stencil that I have there is a stencil that I got from Michael's. It wasn't in the mixed media section. It was in the home decor section, and it came with 3 other stencils. And they're quite thick, and they really stand up well, so I'd highly recommend them. If I find the name of it, I will put a link to it in the description box. Speaking of links, I am an Amazon associate, and what that means is that if you go to my Amazon store, following the link in the description box, either to a product or just through there, anything that you buy when you're visiting it, I get a small commission on. So just full disclosure, that just helps me out. The money is going back into my art, so I can continue to make videos and do what I love and bring it to you. So I'm looking for the background colors, and I'm finding the gold on the bottom, and the complementary color goes right across at the top. So all 5 of those across the top are analogous colors, and they're all going to go really well with the gold of this girl's dress. So I've chosen to use my Dilutions paints, and I'm going to apply them with the blending tools. Now I only bought Ranger's blending tool. I think there's 2 of them that come together, but I buy the little felts and I attach them to either wooden spools that I've gotten in a thrift store or recycled school stamps that I had in my past life. So when you're applying this, one thing to note is it will go through an ugly stage. It always does. And the secret to you applying the Dilutions paints is to layer. Don't try to glob on the paint thick and perfect the first time. You need to let it dry in between. So you'll see me drying it. The Dilutions paints color the modeling paste really well, and I like that. So I'm just putting all the colors. And you know, when I do the first layer here, it looks kind of like a patchwork quilt. And if that was something that you like, that's fine. But for me, that's not what I go for. So there will be a lot more blending with drying in between. So I'm using 2 colors of blues, a teal and a turquoise, and the purple in here. And right now the colors look really separate. I'm just edging with the darkest color. I'll go around the edge with a few of the other colors because I want the edge to be colored as well. So giving it a quick dry. The Dilutions paints do dry very quickly, and I will link to them in the Amazon store. So if you're interested in buying them, just click on there and then you can go and check into some of the best deals. Please make sure that the prices that are listed are good. I've tried to source out ones that are what I've considered to be reasonably priced and good deals, but that doesn't mean it doesn't change after I put it in the store. So always do due diligence and check. And, you know, double check also to see that, you know, to avoid shipping costs if you can. We need to make the most of our crafting and art dollars, and we need to take care, especially when we're buying online. So I'm just putting the color all over the place, rubbing it on the higher textured part, mixing it, and I'm just doing this till it looks pleasing to me. I don't know what I'm going for. I just know that if I keep going, taking the time to dry in between, typically I get, and you can put one color on top of the other, you can put light colors on top of dark colors and vice versa. They're very translucent and you get some really interesting effects with them. So it's just enjoy and playing with the colors. If you like a color combo that you come across when you're playing like this, make note of it so you can utilize that knowledge on another card or page. So now it's not looking as patchworky, it's a little more blendy right now. So I'm going on with the same stencil and I'm just using the Dilutions paints in the same color and the same stencil. I don't want to introduce something else here. Sometimes less is more. I think we tend to put too many different things. I did have a stencil, it was the same shape, it was smaller, and I thought about using it, but then I just decided at the last minute I'm just going to do the same. So you've got some visual texture, you've got some layering of the colors and the design, and you have some physical texture with the texture paste. And I'm going to accentuate the textured areas so they stand out from the rest of the stenciling. So I'm just doing a cleanup of the dilutions, the blending tools, the foams. If you want these to last, you need to take the time to clean them. And it can be a tedious job, but here I have some deli paper and a paper towel. I also like putting it on to coffee filters. I really like the texture that creates. And I'm just spraying water into the blending tool, into the foam applicator, and then sponging that off onto the papers. Now these will be used in upcoming projects. They'll get filed away and they will be pretty much a ready-to-go background or collage item later on that you can speed up the whole art journaling process because you don't have to start with creating the background. Now these blending tools, I'm going to use my Murphy's oil soap and dish detergent to clean, just like I'm cleaning the stencil. I find the dilutions paints stay on the stencils a lot harder than my Liquitex Basics or my craft paint. Now you could have, if you don't have dilutions paints, you can use, I just showed you Americana, the colors there. You can use Liquitex Basics, you can use Golden. You don't have to use the product that I use. I would even try to use the blending tool with the craft paints, or apply it with my fingers, and that would give a slightly different look. So I'm just using gel medium to adhere the focal point. And I put the line there, but I can't really see the line anymore after the paint, after the layers of paint that went on there. And I'm putting a coat on top, and that's going to make this get rid of the shine. Now the background that I have here, I basically followed the same process in both pages for prompt number 2 that were ready-made backgrounds, with the exception of neither of those had, well actually one did have the texture paste and had texture on it. So just so you know how I went about creating the background. And when I do that, I pick colors, again, that are analogous. There are the 5 colors, 3 to 5 colors that all are together at the top of that color wheel. So I printed this out on deli paper with my printer, and I'll put a link to an iCard to my video where I show how to do this. Now the benefit of using deli paper is it typically fades away and you don't see it. And I decided I didn't want a harsh cut line, so I decided to rip. And then somewhere in the midst of that, I really didn't like how it was turning out, so I pushed it aside and took 5 to think about it. So I'm using my Stabilo all pencil, black. I tried using my blue one, but it just didn't give any kind of effect. And I'm just outlining the girl here with a fairly thick line, and then I'm activating with a small round brush and water. If you have a water brush and you like using a water brush, please use a water brush. I find I just don't like water brushes as much. I don't find the tips to be suitable. And that's a personal thing. You're going to find some things that you like, and you know what, that's okay. Do it how you like it. So I'm just trying to go around, and I want to have this outlined. Give her some shadow around her head. And you can see some of that black is seeping into where the textured idea is, where the textured paste is. So I'm just turning the page to get the right angle to avoid smudging it, because I've done that numerous times. So I ended up reprinting the quote on, this isn't regular copy paper, it's a little bit thicker. It's something that I just had sourced out that I have in my stash that I save for this activity. I find it just stands up a little bit better to all the medium when I'm gluing it on than copy paper. And I decide that as much as I don't like fussy cutting, I am going to fussy cut the words here. So I'm kind of going around it. I want to get rid of a lot of the white. I don't want it to be in boxes. I just want it to be a little bit more streamlined. So after doing the one, I am just kind of doing a rough cut here. And no, I am not going to show you the entire process of me cutting every little bit out, because that would be terribly boring. And right now I cannot remember the name of the font. I am going to start focusing on different fonts that I find that are free, that I download into my Word program that I use for my art journaling, because I think sometimes it really makes the difference. Sometimes matching the font or the size or the boldness to the page gives it that little extra something. I'm just looking across the room at the page right now, and it has a lot more of the teal and turquoise than what is showing up on here. Now I have these letters that are on her arm, and I had thought, oh, I'm going to use some Cerem coat, and I'm going to in flesh tone. Well, flesh tone didn't quite cut it, so I quickly wipe off the gesso and the flesh tone paint, and again put that off till later to decide what to do. So I'm putting a little bit of gold, and I'm just kind of dry brushing it on all the textured areas. I did off camera, when I forgot to turn on the camera, kind of use the blending tool to apply some of it, but I find that the brush and the dry brush technique here worked just that little bit better. And this little bit of gold combined with the gold of her dress just really makes this page extra special, and really makes the texture paste stand out. Using the blending tool, I am going around the edges to get that little bit of gold to make it look rich. After all, what's more fashionable than gold? And you can see the shimmer that's there. The colors of this background are they just make me happy. So I'm placing the quote. And of course I can't find the last word. I just had it here. What did I do with it? But I figure, okay, worst case scenario, I print it off again and recut it. But I'm just going to glue this all down because I'm really happy with everything else. I'm just going to glue this all down, and I'll find it later. And I did. The gold paint was Martha Stewart's metallic paint. I've also have a Liquitex Basics, or I think maybe it's an Artist Loft Gold that I use. I had thought about using my Lindy Starburst sprays and in amongst the texture, and just decided to go the way with the dry brushing. Remember, there's lots of ways to get a very similar effect. So if you don't have all the materials, don't worry and don't fret. Use what you have. You try that first, because more than likely it will work. I was very careful putting the gel medium on the top because I didn't want to dull the shine of any of the gold paint. And I decide that I need to go around my page with my little dash dot 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 with my Sakura Jelly Roll pen. I love these pens. I got the metallic set for Christmas and they are so wonderful. And I believe once they're completely dry, they are permanent. And signing my name and dating it. And I'm thinking, oh, I'm just going to leave the letters on her arm and ignore it. But no, so I find another couple colors that are more in the yellow tone because she's very gold, her very goldish tan. And I'm painting over it. And I decide, okay, that's going to work, but okay, let's go back. Put a layer of gesso first and then go over it. I ended up, as you're going to see, using the entire, repainting her entire arm to make it all match. But I did cover the letters. I don't know why I was using a liner brush to do this. In the end, I did stop using it and used a bigger brush, and that made things a lot smoother. But there just was no way to avoid repainting her entire arm. To get it to blend in properly. And I think it's a close enough match to her other arm that you didn't need to worry about it. This page took almost 2 hours of actual time fussy cutting and everything, because I did the background, I did all the fussy cutting, I did added the stenciling, and there was drying time and cleaning of the felt applicators as well. What you could do is just do that in 3 days. Do the background one day, do the fussy cutting and arranging the next day, then do the gluing and the detailing on the 3rd day. And I think that's the whole point of NaNoJoumo, is to discover that, you don't have to have 2 hours to do a page. You can do it in chunks and in pieces. So here I'm just taking pictures to post, and here are those pictures. I hope you enjoyed this page, and I hope you give doing the background with texture paste and stenciling, using the same stencils, a try. It really gave some richness to this page, and I really like the end result. Again, please check the description box, and if you're looking for any of the products you see me use in this video, go through my Amazon store. I have them sorted out in categories for you. And I promise you that nothing is going in that store that either I don't ever have or I don't want to have. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on day 4.